Amazing Grace, anthem of America's civil rights movement, protest song during the Vietnam War, and folk hymn sung throughout the world. Everybody knows it. So where did this world-famous hit come from, this potent anthem of social change? Where else but the sleepy Buckinghamshire parish of Oney? It was here, in 1772, that the lyrics to Amazing Grace were written, by preacher John Newton. But he hadn't been a devout man of God all his life. Former MP Jonathan Aitken has written a biography of Newton.
John Newton was a very wild young man who was violent, a blasphemer, a bad thing to be in those days, and he was a nasty piece of work. Eventually ended up in Africa and became a trader in slaves with all the unpleasant and bestial behavior that that trade implied, and a million miles from being any sort of good person.
This blaspheming bad lot is not the kind of guy we'd expect to be writing a great hymn.
No, that was an incredibly unlikely vocation for him.
Caught in a terrifying storm one day, Newton promised God he'd mend his ways if he was spared death. It set him on a spiritual journey that transformed him into the hymn-writing Vicar of Oney. And here is Amazing Grace, written in this very room. Extraordinary. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. It's very personal, isn't it? A wretch like me. This is autobiographical.
Absolutely. It's what churchmen very often call a testimony.
Now, you, in your time, of course, have fallen from grace. I mean, does this ring bells with you as a consequence?
Oh, hugely. When I was in prison, somebody kind of sent me in a book about Newton, and I read it, and immediately it struck a chord because Newton had screwed up his life, but nevertheless, thanks to God's grace, found a path of fulfillment and spiritual peace. And some of that was perhaps happening to me too.
And here is Newton's hymn, sung by the Gospel Touch Choir to the unattributed folk tune it was paired with in America by the 1840s.
Was lost, but now I'm found.
Isn't this wonderful?
It's terrific.
Really does have soul, doesn't it?
It really does. Although Amazing Grace was not popular in England for at least 150 years after Newton died, and the people who made it popular were the American black churches.
But isn't it extraordinary when actually the words were written by a former slave trader?
I know, an extraordinary irony.
Why did it become such an anthem? What is it in it that makes it work?
Well, it's a kind of a universal message about fresh starts, conquering life's downs and disasters.
So Amazing Grace available for all, but born in Oney.
Born in Oney.
How sweet the sound.
Newton apologized for his part in the slave trade and joined the campaign against it. He died in 1807, the year Britain abolished slavery. Newton never heard Amazing Grace sung like this, which is a shame, because he never knew that his heartfelt tale of starting anew would one day be sung by millions throughout the world.